wonder about how the way we interact with each other has changed over time? The sense of uneasiness or even panic when we realize that we're halfway to work and our cell phone is on the charger at home. How will we communicate with the outside world? What important text message are we going to miss? Now, 10 years ago, all we did while we were driving was eat, and if you were a lady, you put on makeup. We drove without cell phones. We called people when we arrived at our destination. And major life events, well, they weren't missed. So, how did we do it? In this inquiry video for CEP 806, I wanted to look at the relationship between interaction and proximity as it relates to working on some basic science projects. It can be argued that interaction and proximity have no effect on the outcome of a project. Throughout this inquiry, it's my goal to answer that question. Furthermore, if there is no positive or negative effect on the outcome of a project, is there a better form of interaction? Should we as teachers be encouraging our students to learn one way versus another? Without going too much into the specifics, I looked at the following forms of interaction available to students right now: synchronous chatting, asynchronous chatting, and face-to-face interaction. All three have their pros and cons, and throughout this inquiry video, I hope to show you what I mean. Looking at these forms of interaction brought up some very interesting questions. For example, can I get my point across in a chat window? Or, how can I show my partner what I mean when I'm not looking at her? Or, does my partner really understand me? Or for me, the most important question, am I really interacting with my partner? Or are we just kidding ourselves? These questions rattled around in my head during every challenge. I had my preconceived notions, and for me, when I'm working on a project, I prefer to do it face-to-face. Most of you probably feel the same way, but feelings without evidence is just an opinion. Is this really the only way to effectively work on a project? Let's see. Let's first look at our first challenge to be completed using synchronous chatting, like AOL or Yahoo. Sounds simple, right? My partner and I encouraged our first major hurdle. Her internet was down for our scheduled chat time, and remained that way for several hours. We were both ready with ideas, but due to the unforeseen circumstances, we couldn't get those ideas across to each other. Once we moved past the technical issue, it was finally time to begin chatting together. You never realize how much you take verbal communication for granted until you have to explain how you rubber-banded pencils together in a chat window. Moving on to the second challenge, build a catapult, but only talk about it with your partner asynchronously, or by posting your ideas on a message board. Talk about an even more difficult challenge. I felt very alone in this, not because of my partner or her interactions, but because it's the nature of asynchronous chatting. You post a message, you wait a length of time, could be 10 minutes, could be 2 days, before you get a response. You reply to their post, rinse, and repeat. Do that multiple times. I began to realize that I was not giving as much information as I could to my partner due to the fact that my posting and my progress didn't seem to make sense to me. It didn't come natural to work on a project, then go back and try to give a detailed explanation of what I had done while replying to what she had posted and what she had done. Now, with that being said, I know that technology and science are moving at light speeds. There are virtual offices in companies. Emailing and text messages are the preferred method of communication. We have hundreds of friends that we've never even met in person thanks to Facebook and MySpace, and you can even earn a college degree completely online. With all the ways that we are connected virtually, are we losing contact physically? Are our modern conveniences turning us into a society that no longer needs physical interaction to complete tasks quickly and effectively? Well, let's look back at the challenges. For challenge 1, she created a tower of pencils measuring 48 inches. Based on her model and her pictures, I recreated a tower of pencils measuring 62.5 inches. It took multiple sentences back and forth for me to get the full understanding of how she created the base for her tower to withstand the weight of the pencils so that I could recreate it. For challenge 2, our catapults looked nothing alike. They fired about the same distance, give or take a foot or two, but my original structure did not change over time because I felt I'd created the superior design. The time between the posts made it difficult. While waiting for a reply to a post, you continued to tinker, and then when a reply came, I didn't want to make any substantial changes because there was no guarantee those changes would work. Well, for challenge 3, I wasn't surprised that this challenge was the easiest. Not only because we were together working on the challenge, and being married to my partner for 7 years made the interaction part a breeze, but also due to the fact that there were no technological barriers. We could look each other in the eye, communicate our feelings and ideas without having to constantly clarify ourselves, and could work to achieve the same goal at the same time in the same space. The face-to-face interaction allowed our brainstorming time to be shorter. We could each hold the materials in our hands, and then ultimately create an apparatus that would protect the egg. Now, I purchased 1.5 dozen eggs for this challenge and was hoarding toilet paper rolls for about 2 weeks because I was afraid I was actually going to need all of them. Big waste of money. And toilet paper. As a team, our first apparatus kept the egg safe and unbroken on the very first try. Okay, so now I am about to drop the egg. This is my wife, Shawnee. Say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, the ceiling is 8 feet to the floor. So on the count of 3, I'm going to have you drop it. Okay. 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to check to see if it works. Okay, now we have just landed, and now we're going to see if the egg is actually alive still. If that's the case, we are really, really good at this game.
Okay, there's our little crate.
So what we used was lots and lots of Scotch tape, a toilet paper roll, our 2 pieces of paper, and we're back.
I don't even know if that's big enough to get it open, but we'll see.
Okay.
We're egg geniuses.
We are egg geniuses.
There's our egg. He's happy and fine. And
Hello,
happy.
egg.
Hello, baby.
First try, all done. So, with all this information swirling around, where does that leave us with the original inquiry regarding interaction and proximity? I would think it's very clear that proximity and interaction have a very closely tied relationship. We've seen in all 3 challenges that the tasks were accomplished, so we can conclude that proximity does not affect the completion of a challenge. We've also seen that because of the interaction together, ideas were exchanged, so proximity did not affect creativity. Where I found the effect of proximity and interaction was in the speed of the outcome. In both Challenge 1 and 2, it took multiple versions of each idea before a viable solution was uncovered. In Challenge 3, the first version was the final version. The goal was achieved without the need for revision. Now, this doesn't happen all the time, but in conclusion, we could agree that working within the same space allows you to reach your desired goal faster, and with far less effort spent on explaining yourself and more time on solving the task. I would say that my original hypothesis about face-to-face interaction was sound and ultimately based in fact. I can see the direction we're moving technologically, and as long as we don't lose the physical interaction on some level, we will still be able to complete our challenges wherever, whenever, and whatever they may be. Thank you.